Do you want to retire early? Of course you do, all right? That's a relative term. You want to retire early, okay? Here's what you need to do to be able to do it. I got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. So I've often said that part of the American dream is that each generation gets a little bit better, has it a little bit better, has it a little bit easier, has it a little bit nicer than the previous generation. And I tell you, even though you can look at lots of different places and say, yeah, that's definitely true. In the world of finance, that gets tricky, gets a little confusing, because when it comes to retirement, a lot of people said, oh yeah, I saw my parents retire at 65. And therefore, in order to have it better, quote unquote, I should retire at 60 or I should retire at 55. And I mean, it's a tall order. I mean, you can do it, but it is just difficult. It doesn't naturally automatically happen simply because of generational issues. Things are getting better, therefore I'll automatically be able to retire early. No way. It takes some intentionality. So if you want to retire early, what do you need to do to accomplish that? Let's go through it. Number one, if you want to retire early, you've got to start saving early. That's the obvious one. And I would tell you, I mean, the most common phrase heard in our offices from new clients is, oh, I wish I would have started sooner. So if you want to retire early, you've got to start saving early. And it's not enough to just be saving. You've got to take that saving and be investing it wisely. So I'm not talking about buying, AMC calls or, oh, I needed to get in on Amazon early, or I should have bought Bitcoin back when it was 3,000. I mean, it doesn't take that. Would that help? I mean, obviously, but you've got to buy it at the right time and sell it at the right time. That's statistically impossible to do or impossible to repeat, okay? So, but you've got to be starting to save early and investing those dollars early, okay? You're going to need to take some level of risk, not speculation, but some level of risk. A wise, diversified strategy with a momentum strategy. So if you want to retire early, you've got to start saving early. Second, you've got to minimize debt. You've got to minimize how much money you have getting sucked out of your monthly cash flow going to pay someone else or for things that you bought yesterday. Every dollar today that has to go towards buying something or paying something off that you bought yesterday is not a dollar that can help you get closer to retirement. It's not, okay? So you've got to minimize, you've got to manage debt in your financial life. Now, sometimes debt can be leveraged. So many financial authors, financial planners say, yeah, you've got to minimize the debt used for liabilities, right? And consumption and even houses, you could argue, I mean, those are liabilities. They don't generate cash flow for you. They don't generate income for you in the future. Education, and it's an interesting time period right now with education, educational debt. You would argue investing in your education, that is leverage. By having a college degree, you should have a higher earning power. That's absolutely true. Do you need to get that debt in order to achieve that degree? That's the question. Could you go to a cheaper school? Could you work more while you're in college? Those sorts of things. But the big principle, in order to retire early, okay, this isn't the only way, but in order to retire early, you've got to minimize, you've got to manage your debt. And going along with that, in order to retire early, you need to have a disciplined budget. The folks that I see that are far ahead financially and are able to retire early have managed their lifestyle. It's just sort of boring. Do they get to do everything that they want to do? Yes. Do they get to do everything? No. There's limits to everything. So they're comfortable in their lifestyle and they've managed their budget. Now, I would argue that budgets are inadequate in and of themselves. You need to have a 3 bank account system, and to me, that's what helps you retire early, because a 3 bank account system has a budget that manages your monthly cash flow, okay? But it also then has a separate system connected to it where you're saving in advance for those known upcoming expenses. Because if you don't have that as part of your budget, then you don't know how much money you have available to go save for the future, because you know an expense is coming up tomorrow that you haven't prepared for, right? So that's the second bucket in the third in the three bank account system. And then the third bucket is you've got money set aside for an emergency. Again, if you're trying to retire early and at any time life could throw you a curveball where all of a sudden you've got to put a new roof on the house or you've got to deal with a medical emergency, something like that. If you don't have an emergency fund, then those are dollars that are either creating debt that then you've got to figure out how to overcome, or you've got to suck money out of investments that you've already saved up. So having a disciplined budget, managing your cash flow, but really having a 3 bank account system, that's part of the recipe. That's part of the ingredients to being able to retire early. Fourth, you've got to utilize tax shelters. Every dollar going to the tax man or tax woman or tax person or tax entity, whatever, is a dollar that's not in your pocket growing and compounding interest for you. So you've got to use tax shelters as you're saving up. You've got to be tax mindful, but then as you're saving, I would argue you need to be tax diversified, okay? Well, one of the, we recently did a show here on the Wise Money channel that talked about, well, how do you get money out of retirement accounts if you retire early, if you retire before age 59 and a half? There are options, but being planful along the way to have tax diversification, meaning you've got some dollars saved up in pre-tax, you've got some dollars saved up in Roth, you've got some dollars saved up in HSA, you've got tax diversification. Therefore, when you retire, if you retire early before age 59 and a half, you've got options. You've got options as to how to draw money and where to draw them out so that you weren't tax sensitive all along the way and then get to retirement and have to pay a lot of tax just to live on these dollars. The fifth thing, in order to retire early, you've got to create a bridge to Social Security, okay? Social Security, for much negativity as it gets, right? It's going to be insolvent and it only covers about 30% of your retirement income need and all the issues with Social Security. It is an enormous retirement benefit to you. It is enormous, okay? And so if you're going to retire early, i.e. before Social Security starts, you've got to have a bridge. You've got to figure out financially, how do I cover my income need when I don't have any other income sources before I've turned Social Security on? And so for your certified financial planner should be able to help you build that bridge. Remembering for my folks, when they retired, we delayed Social Security, and part of the assets that they built up, we did the math and said, this portion right here, we are going to spend through. That is your bridge to Social Security. We've got income from these sources, and then we're going to spend these dollars. That will get you to Social Security, and therefore these dollars are protected over here. Once you start drawing Social Security, that will be able to provide for income. You'll be all set. So you've got to work with your certified financial planner. If you're retiring early, one of the ways you got to figure out, you got to build that bridge to Social Security. And going right along with that is if you retire early, Medicare eligibility starts at age 65. You've got to have a health insurance solution. Now, what is that? I don't know. I mean, you work with your certified financial planner, see what the options are. We've done several discussions on the Wise Money Show channel about that, but sit down with your CFP, see what your options are and what makes sense for you. Part of this is just managing your health all along the way, right? Health insurance in and of itself, it's expensive, but out-of-pocket medical expenses are a whole nother expense as well. And you can do lots of things to ensure or to make sure that you're healthy, but you're not in complete control of it, okay? I've had my fair share of health surprises. I'm sure you have as well. But so managing your health is one, but then evaluating the various health insurance options and getting a solution for health insurance before age 65, that's a crucial ingredient to being able to retire early. And then seventh, almost rounding out the list, is manage your housing expenses. Now, this is possibly surprising that it makes the list, but health insurance and health expenses, that's not your largest retirement expense. Your house will be. Your house will be your largest retirement expense. And therefore, if you still have a mortgage, if you have high property taxes, if you have a lot of deferred maintenance, if you want to do a big addition, a big home improvement, something like that, you've got to manage those expenses in order to retire early. Not saying those things can't exist, not saying you can't retire if you still have a mortgage or if you're, if you have high property taxes, whatever. I'm just saying it's just something you need to be mindful of, something you need to be planning for. Manage your housing expenses. You need to be aware of that if you're going to try and thread the needle and retire early. And then the last, I would say most important way to retire early is to receive a huge inheritance. No, I'm just kidding. That's like the movie where at the end, well, it was all just a dream. No. Okay, assuming there isn't a big inheritance or lottery winnings or something like that, okay? The most important step is the one that includes all the others, and that is hiring a certified financial planner, having a CFP on your team. This isn't self-serving. I just believe this to my core. Why? Because it takes being proactive in your financial life, knowing way ahead of time what life is going to look like out there in the future, and therefore knowing, okay, this is the stuff I need to be doing right now, 40 years before, 30 years before, 20 years before, so that I show up and I'm ready, okay? That's the job of your certified financial planner. You've only seen one financial life, yours. Maybe you've gotten a window into your parents or your siblings or maybe close friends to see, geez, what are they doing? How much do they make? I mean, are they saving up a lot? I don't know. But typically, even the window that you have in other people's lives, you don't see the full story, right? You can't really know. Your certified financial planner has seen thousands, have seen hundreds of thousands of financial decisions and seen how they played out. They've helped, you've never retired before. They've helped people retire thousands of times, right? And on top of that, all day, every day, they're doing research, they're analyzing, they're thinking, they're collaborating, saying how can, what are the creative ways to get people from here to there? That's why we tell you, you've got to work with a certified financial planner who's doing comprehensive financial planning. Don't go see a certified financial planner who's just selling you investments, or see someone that's not a CFP that's just trying to sell you some investment product, okay? That's not going to help you, okay? But if you're trying to retire early or whatever that means to you, the one decision that includes all the other decisions, that includes all the other actions, all the other advice, is having a certified financial planner who's doing comprehensive financial planning. They're going to make sure that you're checking off all those boxes along the way. And whether it's 56 or 59 or 62 or whatever it means to you, they're going to help you get there, help you have that clarity and confidence, and help you utilize creative ways to get there. So work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com, that's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or just give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.